Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our LinkedIn Live. We are going to be talking about how you can energize your career. And we're going to learn from our panelists today how they've done it over the course of their careers. And hopefully you'll pick up some great advice throughout the time that we have together today. I'm Zari Venhouse from Eaton, and I'm your host today. If you're seeing me, you're in the right place. Before we get started, a quick reminder, you don't have to click any links during this presentation or during this discussion, but feel free to share your thoughts and comments in the comments box. Add questions too. We're going to get to as many of them as we can during this conversation. For those of you who are joining today who may not be familiar with Eaton, we are an intelligent power management company with a broad set of products and services that help our customers manage power more reliably, efficiently, safely, and sustainably. Our mission is to improve the quality of life and the environment through the use of those power management technologies and services. Today, I'm joined by an exceptional panel of leaders from around the world. I'll give a quick intro, and then I'm going to pass it on to them to give a little bit about their roles at Eaton and maybe a fun fact about themselves. So I'm Zari Venhouse, like I said, I lead our corporate marketing communications team. I've been at Eaton 20 years and have grown up in our marketing function and have the honor today of leading our marketing teams to help us build our brand, to help connect and engage with customers around the world. Jazieli, let's start with you.
Sure. Guten Tag zusammen. Boa tarde. I'm Jazieli Lima. I'm Brazilian and computer engineer from my background, working currently in Germany with responsibility for customer support, technical and commercial for about 15 different countries in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, together with our teams. We make it in multiple languages with the knowledge about our products to apply into energy savings for our customers or for their customers. A fun fact about myself, when I was a teenager, we didn't have enough streams. We didn't have, internet was just starting. We didn't have WhatsApp. We couldn't connect internationally so easily. So you could join some associations like International Exchange for Students, and I did it. And I had a connection with a colleague, another student in Frankfurt. That time we could not, the person could not speak Portuguese. I could not speak German. So we were writing letters that would take 20 days to arrive and in English. And through the course of my career in Eaton, I would never have in mind one day I will be living in Germany and now speaking the language. So that's really interesting opportunity that I am very grateful for. And I'm sure you're going to hear more from my colleagues. Therefore, Marine, what about your story?
Thank you, Jazieli. My name is Marine Drive and I lead Eaton in India. India is an important geography for Eaton. Right? We have about 6,000 associates here in the country. This is the competency centers of excellence for different functions for the company, right? Engineering, finance, supply chain, sales and marketing, and so on, right? And for engineering, like 40% of the global workforce for technology and innovation happens in the country here. And beyond that, we have 8 manufacturing locations that serve the different commercial businesses that we do trade in the country here in India, and for the export business as well. Fun fact about me, and some of you may not know, that my name Marine Drive is actually named after a place in Mumbai, India. So growing up through school and even in professional setting, right, when I introduce myself, I get the question like, "Oh, we're not asking you where you're from or where do you live and what's your name," and I have to repeat. My name is Marine Drive, and that's my name. And I've gotten used to it now, and I'm glad to be here and looking forward to the conversation. Rogerio?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon to you all. I'm Rogerio. Very happy to be here today with you. I lead our supply chain function for Eaton globally. We manage some $11 billion of spend around the company. We have offices in over 19 countries, and we manage suppliers over 100 different countries. So being with the company over 32 years, And now we're really working around making sure that we understand requirements for our businesses, especially after pandemic now, in terms of what we need to do to be successful going forward from the supply chain standpoint. A fun fact about me, I am a mechanical engineer by trade, but I never worked in engineering my entire career with Eaton. And that'll be something we're going to be here talking over the meeting today.
Well, great. Thank you all.
So with that, back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you all for those intros. I'm excited for our discussion today.
Sorry.
And just another friendly reminder to our audience, we are going to be answering your questions. So please share them in the comment section, and we're going to do our best to get to as many as we can. So let's start with talking about our career stories, right? How did you get to where you are in your career? Tell us a little bit about your experience, where you started, how you got today. What was energizing about the process? So I'm going to hand this to Marine Drive to take this one first.
Thank you, Sari. I'm an engineer by trade, right? I started in research and development, designing products and innovation. And over time, I moved to more external customer-facing roles with installation and application engineering. And you learn a lot about how customers are using the products and technology that we develop. And I did that across different business groups, different product lines and markets. And at some point, I was in standards body driving um, companies to come together to work together for the common cause for the market and the customers, right? So that was an interesting phase. And 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 after that, I was in senior technology roles and I ran a business. I helped in integration when we acquired companies. So I've done a bunch of roles, and here now I am in a corporate leadership role with Eaton. Like you've heard the panel, right? The panel is a lot has a lot of Eaton experience, 80 plus, 85 plus. I'm the newbie, into Eaton. It's 3 years in the company now, and fantastic. And we'll talk more about my experiences on onboarding. But when I look back about my professional journey and the things that I've picked that have helped energize my career to get to where I am today. Three things resonate with me. One, some of you may have heard about the whole concept of left to right thinking versus right to left thinking, right? So, left to right is sequential. You're in your day job, you're doing the best, you're incrementally innovating, and it's very good. It's very essential, right? But something that I picked, in my career is when you have the right to left thinking, where you're anchored towards what you need to look like, what your team needs to look like, what outcomes you need to be driving, and try to make those things a part of your daily work. And that has helped achieve bigger, better outcomes. And that's something that stuck with me. I use it a lot with my own teams as to, how well will you solve this problem? Where is our anchor on this? And that's the first one, right to left thinking. The second one I can think of is not having the victim mindset, right? In all our professional journey, we have ups and downs, right? We have good days, bad days, rough patches, right? We all have them. And when you're in that dip and you're in that rough patch, right, and the natural bias sometimes is to really feel that things are out of your control. The boss is not helping, you don't have funding, you don't have the resources to do what you need. And I think it's very important that we tell ourselves to really change those phases into having a growth mindset and try to surround yourself with people that are positive, energizing, right? Be resilient, get that associated to the larger picture, right? And get help from people around you, above you, below you, your peers, right? To help go through that phase. And I've seen a lot of people, very bright people, like where they have these parts, and once you get in the victim mindset, it's something that is not productive, and it really doesn't help your career, right? That's sort of the number two. The last one I would say is really collective intelligence always wins, right? You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. That's something that I truly inherently believe. Yeah, whether it's with your team, you try to build better teams. You're in a setting with your peers. You're trying to listen and get the collective intelligence while you're contributing as well. And as an individual, as a leader, once we intrinsically believe the collective intelligence wins, you've been able to drive better outcomes, right? So I think, I would say, right, looking at my career, the different jobs I've done, different functions, I think those are three things, right? Right to left thinking, don't have the victim mindset, right? Collective intelligence always wins, are the things that stuck with me in my career, right? And it's amazing.
I do resonate to your point, Marine. If I go back in history, it will be 34 years, where I started as an apprentice and in automotive in Brazil. And Rogério is going to talk about himself, but we started almost together as both apprentices in this company. And we had, different passes crossing in different countries also. So that was quite interesting. And I think coming out of school, you really want to put in practice what you have learned in theory. So I would say the first opportunity is to grow what I call vertically. So you grow in the domain that you are an expert. And I had the opportunity, together with, of course, mentors and others, opportunities to work in IT, in the information technology area, from systems to telecommunication, to handling all our databases, to work on programs, deploying ERP systems in different countries. And that's quite interesting. There's intensive and it's also vertical in terms of you deep diving in the technology, deep diving in the work that you are passionate for. And I had a turn in the career. So I was always motivated to learn a new technology. And I had a turn in the career as well. As information technology, you are involved in multiple processes in the business, from the end to end, from the customer until the deliveries and implementations and solutions we give. And I started energizing my career to say, what can I learn differently from my own comfort area? And then I had the chance in Eaton, with support from mentors as well, to move laterally. And laterally, I mean across functions. So I had the chance to move into lean manufacturing and we call quality or OPEX, merge and acquisition, supply chain, always in my heart as well, Rogério, for sure. Mm-hmm. And recently as well, running a manufacturing environment together with colleagues, and most recently in sales, supporting our customers to find the right solution for them. So it has been 20 years deep diving on products in terms of automotive, mechanical power, and then 14 years in the electrical power. So it's all about finding ways to consume less power, finding energy savings. I'm still learning. So re-energizing, I would say, by curiosity first, deep dive on your vertical domain. And the secondly, reinventing yourself. Go outside of your comfort area and see how you can bring your expertise to other possibilities. So very honored, very pleased for the different opportunities across maybe 5 different movements around different regions and these different products, technology I was able to learn. I think Rogério can complement on that.
Yes, and actually, as I reflect back in my career with Eaton, and Giselle mentioned, we started together in Brazil some 32 years ago. I cannot talk about career without talking about the company that I work for. So certainly, as everything in life is an exchange, what we bring to the table versus what the company brings to the table. And as we make this exchange actually very complementary, certainly we're going to continue to grow. And very early, I would say, because why do I stay 32 years with the company? Well, because we work for a value-based company that really value diversity, value people that actually get the job done. And I must say, I'm certainly super grateful to say that I started 32 years ago as an intern, and then I was a financial analyst. And today I'm reporting to the CEO of the company, and I just kind of take a step back and say, wow, this is possible. Right. So it's not one that you have to be born in a certain way or go to certain schools. Or, no, if you can demonstrate, you can get the job done, you have ethical principles, certainly there will be opportunities. That's how I would say I would describe my company. And then now going a little bit more on my specific experience, very early in the day, I was 21 years old. And in my department that I started with, finance, the average tenure with the company was 25 years. So now I'm entering this environment where all these people, they're being with the company for a long time. They've been doing this for so long. And I'm getting out of school, starting there, know nothing about the world, know nothing about anything. But one thing was amazing. They embraced me. They helped me to learn. They helped me to really see the right, the wrong, the ways we need to think about it. It was always with positive intent. And that actually was very impactful to me, that when you are in a learning environment where it's always positive intent, certainly you will be learning, because we make mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes for sure. But every time there was a mistake, people come to me and said, hey, did you see what happened there? Okay, maybe the next time think differently. And that's actually makes a positive experiences. So then you truly learn. And I say, I would not be here today. And you think about Energize in my career, which is something that to me is really, really amazing. If it wasn't for people that truly care about me, people that came to me and said, you can do good work, you can grow in your career, but you need to make sure that you're going to be learning what needs to be learned. So mentorship was important. Mentorship from the standpoint of let's work together to make you better, to help you to develop. And I'm, again, super fortunate to have met people early in my career that actually done that to me. People that are dear to my heart, that I can absolutely remember nowadays, I still in contact with them, that actually took the time to say, this is the way you need to think about it. Because I say it, we have a work we need to be done. And all of a sudden we face situations that we have no idea what to do. And that's where now they can come in and say, think this way, think that way, think this way, think that way. And this is now actually, I say 30 years later, it is amazing that I can actually start doing that with all my people the same way. So yes, I was helped by people that were there before. Now we're helping people that are growing to the company. This is the values that I'm talking about. This is why I love this company. This is why I've been here for 30 years, because certainly we do a lot of work, we give opportunities, and certainly we all can grow into that, what I call the mutual relationship, what's in for you, what's in for the company. Certainly, I move around. I have 14 different jobs, 4 different countries, 12 moves internationally, all that kind of nice stuff. Because again, it is a way for Eaton to say, you want to learn and go. I mentioned that I'm an engineer, never worked in engineering in my life. So I started in finance, moved to business development, then I moved to operations, and then supply chain, and all different things that we need to do. But at the end of the day, it is about the experience. And I remember one thing, our former chairman and CEO, Sandy Cutler, said once, and I could have stuck with me for my entire life. This is probably 20 years ago. He said that there will be times you're going to go to jobs that all you can count on is your leadership, how to work with people. Because in the end, if you have that intellectual rigor, you learn about the job, but you know how to work with people. That's going to make you successful. And that's been proven to me to be true every time, where I can come from finance to operations to supply chain to other functions. But then if you really understand how to lead, if you really understand how to collaborate, if you really understand the values, how you get the work done, people are going to teach about the essence of the knowledge. You're going to be surrounded by great people, and by all means, you'll be successful. So that's been my experience. And again, very grateful to be still here with Eaton and for the years ahead.
So three of us started as interns or apprentices, right? And have never left. So I think that's a testament to the kind of company we work for. And Maureen, we'll get you there. Like 3 years, like
Absolutely.
right.
Now, I completely resonate with Rogerio, right? And while he was telling about his experiences when he was joined as an intern, right? I joined in a senior role, and Eaton had the best onboarding, right? As to the openness and people willing to help, right? To get to where I am here, even within 3 years, right? It's wonderful.
Yeah. I think that's something that's really special about the culture at Eaton, right? When people ask me, why have you stayed at Eaton for 20 plus years? And my answer very often includes, right, that culture of rolling up your sleeves and figuring out how to get the work done together, right? No one's saying like, hey, that's not my job. It's let me help you figure it out. If you don't know and I don't know, we'll go find someone who does. And that maybe is a great segue into one of the questions from our audience, from Jay. How important is the role of strong sponsors and networking in career growth, so that knowing other people who can help get you through those challenges? Maureen, do you have a good example of something in your career that's shown the importance
Yeah, no, I'll pick my onboarding into Eaton, and because I was new to the company, right, and I had to learn this, and I think to answer the question, right, it's very important, right, the networking part, in the sense that that's your opportunity to learn how the company operates, what other divisions and people do actually, right? So when I joined Eaton, right, so now I'd asked my boss saying, look, I need to spend 3 months with the different divisions, the different plant environments, and Eaton and my boss and the company sponsored this, right, to really spend the time in different divisions and trying to understand their businesses, their priorities, sit in their staff meetings, and go to their plans. And it was a tremendous experience, especially if I think about my job in India. It's just 12 time zones away from the headquarters, right, and the divisions, right. It was very important for somebody coming new, and somebody who's going to be, geographically separated from some of the main markets are. It was very critical to understand how different businesses and priorities and people work, and that really helped me onboard and integrate to the company, right. So I would say very important, right. I had great mentors assigned to this process, so they became the sponsors, and the whole networking helped me understand how Eaton works, and yeah, I would say yes, absolutely, right. We have to take advantage every time we get an opportunity to travel around the world, look at what other people are doing and how they're doing, and you're going to catch and learn stuff, and sometimes you're going to learn things. Oh, I didn't know this was happening. So it's going to be
Right.
all the experiences, right? So and yeah, it's a very very critical one.
Yeah, and maybe I can provide a perspective also on this question. And one of the things that I learned very early on in my career is where you got to be vocal about the things you like to do in your career, right? So it's important that you take control of your career to say, look, I like to have this type of experience. I like to go to this type of function, this type of region. Because at the end of the day, when you actually become vocal about that, very quickly, you're going to learn who you need to connect with. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have exposure,
Yeah.
and that's a very important concept. We don't know what we don't know. If I don't know somebody on my team would like to go have a certain type of experience, we're not going to be thinking about that experience for that person. But in a minute that person becomes vocal and comes and say, hey, look, I'm in supply chain today, but I love to go work in engineering. I love to work in sales. I love to work in operations. Oh, interesting. Now again, it's actually understand that. And very quickly we can connect the dots. And then when there's an opportunity, we can connect that person to the opportunity. So that's a form of network, but it's a pointed network, very meaningful to your career. So it's always important for us, again, to be mindful about what you like to do and who will be the people that can actually help me to navigate through that career path.
And one of the things that we do at Eaton that I think is really special is our mentoring program, right? Where you can sign up and you can ask for a mentor. And oftentimes the person you're partnered with is someone not in your function, right? It's not kind of your leader or your next leader, right? I remember having had mentors in other functions and having mentees in other functions. And it gives you the opportunity not only to network and meet new people, but also to understand different perspectives, to learn from each other. And that's something that really helps you in your career growth, right? That one of you mentioned it earlier, that focus, that curiosity, right? Jesse, that curiosity, that learning. And part of that is about learning about new people and what they want to do.
And Zari, to complement, I think we always gonna be called for a mission. I would say like that. And part of the networking is also us as managers and developing ourselves and developing others is to say, who are the experts we can call on certain missions? Right? We all get intensive experience. We all get gray hair trying to find solutions for our customers. That's true. And it's quite interesting. I had opportunities where, for example, to provide a completely new product in the electrical sector, we network with the automotive. We took the expertise and put the teams together, and we provide them certain new roles that I think they were not even thinking one day that could happen, that two businesses would merge, convert together, and people would have the possibility to grow with a completely new business. And we did it. And we did other times as well. We're now doing this for like the software area. We have a completely new suite of Braille And some people that never eventually thought about developing software for part of our products are part of that mission. So the networking is targeted. The networking allows us to eventually move. And you need to be careful. You're going to be called for a mission. And, and it's always good to be ready and curious and flexible. You might even have to move to another country for such missions. And definitely there is sponsorship and mentorship available.
And that's a great segue to another question from our audience. So I think I'm the only one in the group of the four of us who studied marketing and has stayed in marketing her whole career, right? So that picked a function, love it, right? I'm a marketer by trade and have had the opportunity to grow in the function. The three of you have all had differing careers across functions. And we have a question from Hazel about how we can change career from, let's say, supply chain, but you have a background in sales. So that idea of moving between functions, and maybe Rogerio, you could take this and give us a little bit of context for how you make moves like that.
Yeah, actually, I love the question. And as one that we pay attention. And one of the things that we do, and I really love about it actually here, is we're very intentional about talent development. So when you become truly intentional about talent development, it is no longer about the verticals that we talk about, the sales, including sales, engineering within engineering. It's now about what I mentioned, the person's leadership style and what that person can contribute and do. So we've been, again, looking to how we can cross functions because we absolutely believe by getting this different set of expertises and experiences, like in this example, somebody coming from sales into supply chain. Well, let's kind of look into this example. Somebody in sales has a strong relationship with customers on the commercial side. It needs to understand products, what we sell, how we provide value to our customers. And all of a sudden, you take all that expertise and you can transition into a supply chain role. And now you need to balance, obviously, still use the knowledge on the product side, but now how we connect in terms of what we buy from suppliers. Still commercial, different ways to negotiate, perhaps, but at the end of the day, that skill set and the leadership required is very similar. So absolutely, we love doing that stuff like that. Very recently, we have big examples, and which I love, where we got people coming from engineering, Celine's function, to our function in supply chain. And one can say, wait a second, what is an engineering going to do in supply chain? Well, again, we have to buy components. If you understand how you design components, you can certainly understand how to buy them better.
Right.
And we're leveraging, again, that expertise. So in the end, the answer is we find points of common knowledge that will actually create value to multiple different functions. Now, I would say a suggestion I'll give to people is, as you think about your career, what are the things, the skill sets you can bring to the table, regardless to the function you work with, and how we can actually leverage that better, and certainly be very vocal again about what you like to do.
And I think that's a great focus on skills and value, right? So if we think about, the skills that we all have today, but we know our industries are changing, right? Our functions are all changing. We've got AI coming on board. So what skills do you all think are going to be crucial for professionals in the next decade? Marino, how about we start with you on this one?
Yeah, a very interesting one, right? So we are in the era of machines designing machines, right? All that we see in the movie is becoming reality, right? So I think the technology, right, in the S curve are at this point of rapid growth, right, where AI and analytics are applied to every function, right? In HR, right, the analytics platforms are telling us when people are going to leave. Actually, they're analyzing that. And in supply chain, right, it's a digital thread that connects your forecast to what's available and what you can produce, and you're tying them together, right? In engineering, you're basically telling the computer, these are my parameters for the product, and how are you going to design it? And it comes back with options, right? So look, we are in this era and in that phase of rapid growth of technology around us, right? And what I feel, right, it's going to be very important is to be able to, what I would call as the convergence of the human intelligence and the machine intelligence, right? Now, in this journey, and I sometimes I see people in camps, right, where these jobs have been done by people for 20 years, 30 years, right? They know the ins and outs, they know the processes, they know what works, what doesn't work. And sometimes they're poking holes on the technology saying, well, that didn't come out right, and so on and so forth. And then you have the people who are very upbeat on the technology saying, well, that can replace everybody, actually. I don't need anybody, actually. And I think the
We're
skill
somewhere in the
that's going
middle, right?
is really the convergence and the combination, right? To take the knowledge and know-how we have built as a company with people, and to be able to marry that with the technology advancements that's happening around us and embrace them, right? That convergence, and people, teams, and company that do well are the ones that are going to do well in the future, right? And at Eaton, we deploy a lot of AI technologies in different functions, right? And that's something that is very exciting inside the company, right? And 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 one additional thing I would like to bring there is really, while the convergence is important, right? How do you learn? How do you keep the skill up, right? Required
Right.
for the future. And like the first order learning would come from you're attending certificate courses, you're doing online things, and you're going to learn your base knowledge. And I'm a true believer that a lot of that knowledge in the second order would come from doing in the job, right? So you use these technology advancements and with the people and the experience they have into your jobs to make your jobs, to make the work processes leaner, to get faster, to sometimes, maybe not in your direct job function, take a stretch assignment that's going to allow you to learn that and apply it better, right? So I think in the future, Zari, right, and I'm a true believer that you'll have to really find the convergence point of the human and the machine intelligence and apply them in your work, so it becomes real and you learn and you get better and the technology gets better, right? So that's what I would think is it's going to be one of the key things for the future.
So maybe just expanding on what Marin was saying. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I listened to something that resonated with me a lot. Nowadays, we see companies that are going out of business, not because they made bad decisions. It's just because they're just making decisions the same way. So what was actually getting you to be successful yesterday may not be the formula to get you to be successful going forward. Now, at a personal level, I'll go back when I was in college, actually. And I remember this professor, and he was saying, look, you're going to be in the market, and it is all about the competition. If you think about it, right? You want to do well, you're going to be competing with others that are also trying to do well, right? So the key there is differentiation. And if I go back to my own experience, I remember trying to get to college. I wanted to get to the best college in Brazil that I could possibly go. All right, so then I got to the very good college. But next thing I know, I have my colleagues in my class that are doing the same thing as me. So now the question is, what are you going to do to differentiate? So I'm in Brazil. I said, I got to learn English. Okay, that'll be something different. So that becomes the formula. What it is you're going to do to differentiate yourself? Because if you just stay stagnant, your colleagues are going to get ahead of you. And that actually applies nowadays. So I would just say 30 years ago to now, there's one key difference, the speed. Now things are changing much faster.
Yeah.
And we need to keep up with that speed. We need to make sure that we are aware that what used to take 5 years for us to really be beginning to end in the cycle, maybe now it can be in months. And we got to be aware of that. So stay current is absolutely important. It may be a very interesting concept. And Marin already mentioned all the key elements, so I don't have to repeat here. But we are living in a world of digital, AI, and all that. So oftentimes people come to me and ask, hey, Rogério, do you think AI is going to take our jobs? Well, my true answer, and I truly believe on that, is no. But here's a statement. AI is not going to take our job, but somebody that knows AI may take our job.
Right.
So stay current. Stay current. That's the way I would say that's going to be super important here for the next decade.
And that comes to something that Jesieli talked about earlier, right? Curiosity. That we talked about learning, right? And that being such an important part of growing in your career.
And let me add 3 things I would say quite important, no matter which decade.
Exactly.
No matter which decade, because Rogério is correct, Marin as well, right? The speed is becoming faster and faster. We compete in the right way. Yeah, we work together, we unify our teams. And there's one thing that is non-negotiable, is to do your work for the goodwill of the world, is to do your work ethically, is to do your work that really gets people into a next level of their own lives. And we saw some companies going a little bit in a deviation from that, and really, really sad. So I think no matter which decade, and I'm very pleased to see even the new generations really talking a lot about being ethical, being genuine, being active, supporting the planet. So be ethical any decade. That would be my first, I would say, skill that we need to be, because I remember getting out of university, you do your statement, right? And the graduation, you have, we call in Portuguese, juramento. And you say, I'm going to use my knowledge to the goodwill of the world. And it's not so easy to keep that. So it's very important to keep that in the back of our minds. The other point I would say, as we are curious to learn and change is coming fast, I would say is, how do you maneuver the change management? You have to be flexible, that change will come. Might be a design of the product, might be the way we do the process, might be a completely new regulation in a country that you have to adapt to this. So let's consider that we all have to learn how that big picture of the change will impact all of us, or will impact the customers, or will impact the communities. Because phasing in a new product, that could be an innovation, and phasing out another product requires some steps. And if the changes are becoming faster, then we also need to align the communication across all the stakeholders in a way that they understand what is the impact for me, how can I change. And so being responsible for that phase in, phase out is quite critical. And how many people are impacted is quite critical, that you are able to map it. And you need to have change management skills for that. And the last, I could not forget about that, right? Serving customers across different countries, language is a very interesting skill to have. You might not know if 3 years from now, you might be working in Italy and you might have Italian language as a key skill. Or you have to go to another country. Definitely, we understand English is a business language, but having a language that you can address the customer on their natural environment, or sometimes some technical information has to be very specific. As well, if you are coordinating teams, like Rogério worked in multiple countries, Marine is going to get to other countries later. I think it's very important. It's very important that you can be in the shoes of other colleagues that speaks different language.
Absolutely. And so, a big underpinning of the conversation that we've been having here is about learning, right? So we think about how to learn. What kind of opportunities do we provide at Eaton, or have you guys found in your careers have been really helpful to enable you to continue learning throughout your career? Rogério?
Yeah, so I guess Giselle already mentioned a lot of that stuff. And one of the key principles here is to get out of your comfort zone as much as you can, to a point where your comfort zone is being out of the comfort zone. Right. So as you understand the challenge and you understand what it is you need to do, you quickly then take a step back and look into, what do I need to learn to be successful on this one? So I go back in one example in my career. I started working in finance. I mentioned I went back to school to do my master's in finance, so then I could be current into that. Having that curiosity, you talk about that. So understanding the challenge, understanding the requirements, getting mentors that's going to help you to understand where you need to look, what skill sets you need to acquire, and then be curious and purposeful about getting those skill sets and learning about it. That's absolutely important. Now, we also want, from the company side, provide training to our people in areas that we believe are important. And we are very purposeful on that one. We're very focused on that. We are going to continue that, but we have to meet in the middle, where we provide areas that we believe our people need to learn and be mastering on, but on the supplier side and our people side, we'll be able to actually meet and say, be curious, go learn. And so then it could be a language, it could be other things. So when the opportunity comes, you'll be there, prepared for that, and you'll be able to be successful.
Mhm.
Rogério is correct. We have several paths where we can grow in Eaton. Vertical, as Ari, you have been there yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lateral as well. So in learning a different domain, eventually you don't jump from one domain to the other, but you go to an intermediate step before you go to a next type of a job.
Mhm.
We do provide in the company opportunities for apprenticeship locally. I think across our 300 different sites, we partner with universities, and that's available for all of us. We also go to university to try to find the best talents as well. I love doing that together with my team members. We have a graduate leadership program, which includes a 3-year rotation across functions and across countries. So for those who are interested in that program, that could be an opportunity to learn already in the lateral point and jumping into leadership in different places. For our employees, we have what we call a stretch assignment marketplace. So you are doing your regular job, but you can still participate on a 3-month project for another business. And comes again the curiosity to learn something new or get out of the comfort zone and try to work on finance, right? If you are a mechanical engineer, why not?
Why not? Exactly.
And we also have mentoring, as we mentioned before. It's a 12-month program, partnership, mentee and mentor that could be from different functions. Plus, for all employees, we have our own development plans with some guidance from our manager. So it's quite grateful programs that I think all of us can take and support our teams and take for ourselves. It's a very diverse program. Absolutely agree that the opportunities are there, and we need to match what the employees would like to enhance with their personal life and professional life, and what are the target new businesses that Eaton is approaching.
And development plans are so important, and I think sometimes they get kind of skipped over for more traditional. I have to go to a class, or I have to, take right, like where there's something that, or I have to go to a training or an event. And thinking about your personal development, thinking about what you want in your career, right? So Rogério, to the point you made earlier about being vocal about experiences you want, things you want to learn, and as a leader, I think one of the most gratifying parts of my role is helping people to learn new things, right? Is giving them those opportunities, is saying, hey, there's a stretch assignment opportunity here. Someone wants to learn something new. Let's put them on a project. Let's give them the skills they need to do something new in their career. We have a question in the audience about advice from Ethan. What advice do we have for someone who's looking for an opportunity later in their career to change? And I think it's that piece of it, right? Think about the things that you want to do, things you want to learn, and use your network to look for opportunities to build those skill sets. And that's going to help you move from finance to supply chain potentially, right? Or from sales into supply chain. Why does anyone want to go into supply chain? I get lots of questions.
Of course, it's the best function. Come on. Of course. A lot of opportunities.
Those are really, I think, important things that you need to keep with you as you grow in your career. And as leaders, we need to continue to instill and inspire in our teams.
Yeah, and one thing here, as Ariel mentioned here, that to me is very important, and has been important to me. We talk about all the different things, be curious and all that. And advice, maybe I'll give an advice now. One thing that worked for me, I always think about the now, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. So where do I see myself 10 years from now? Now, it doesn't need to be a job. It could be a function, a region, or something that I like. But before that, 5 years from now, where do I see myself and where am I today? So then on the today, what are development skills I need to acquire to be able to get where I want to be 5 years from now? That will then lead me and then bridge into where I want to be 10 years from now. As time goes by, your 10-year goal becomes your 5-year goal. Your 5-year goal becomes your reality. And it works like magic, because then you're very focused. Then you know who to connect. You know what skill sets you need to develop. And then it is almost like this. One of my favorite examples, right? You wake up in the morning and you come to people and say, look, in the way to work today, how many red cars did you see in the street? People are going to look at you and say, what? I don't know. I was just driving to work. Okay. If I come back tomorrow and ask you the same question, very likely you're going to come to me and say, oh, I saw 2 cars. So what is the point here? When you know when you want to go, you pay attention. So you pay attention to opportunities. When you know and say, I need to get a certain skill set, all of a sudden, JCL come to you and say, hey, there's a stretch assignment here for you in this area. And all of a sudden, what do you do? Connect the dots. Well, that's going to help me because it's going to get me to get there. Attention. Then you can be purposeful in developing your career. And that's how we're going to continue to progress. As you make that and turn that into a habit, you always kind of attention in terms of where you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and what we need to learn. Opportunities are going to come and go. But if you pay attention and you know you're looking for red cars, you're going to find them.
Mm-hmm. And that idea of being proactive, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Not sitting back and waiting for someone to give you your next opportunity.
Exactly.
Right? But looking, understanding what you want to learn, and bringing those opportunities to your leader, right? Bringing them to the organization. One of the things I've learned in my career, right? A lot of jobs I've had over the course of the last 20 years have not been jobs that were there before, right? They were net new jobs, right? Because I saw an opportunity where we weren't doing something we could be doing. And I said, wait, I think I might have the skill set, or that's a great place for me to learn and for the company to grow. And so you make the case for why you might need that role. And that, I think, is something that, of course, has helped me a lot in my career, but it's something we see a lot at Eaton, right? That ability to point out a gap and to say, hey, I think either I have the skills or I want to build the skills to help fill that gap.
Exactly.
So I want to pivot us just a little bit. And this is both a question from the audience and a kind of a question we had talked about earlier. So I'm gonna tie them two together. But from Copper, he asked, what are the most common mistakes professionals make when trying to advance their careers? And I want to tie that back to this idea of maybe unexpected lessons we've learned over the course of our career. So where are areas where maybe we've made mistakes, and what have we learned from them? So Maureen, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, unexpected learning experiences, right? So we all have multiple experiences and setbacks and, things that you thought, you knew, and then you realize that you didn't know. One thing that, one specific one that stuck with me was a part of my career was in doing video surveillance applications in airports to really, look at the people passing through the security and where they are at the airport and so on, right? So it was very heavily based on facial recognition, right? So and we were trying to solve this problem that people are not looking at cameras, and how do you know exactly who the same person is? And it was so much of inside of face recognition, specialization, super specialization. Even when we use the term step back and think about it, it's still inside that domain. And it so happened that when I was in that phase, I was addressing new joiners right from school, and I was explaining them how great this technology is, and we're having all these challenges. And there's one person said, are we trying to find the person, or are we trying to find the face? And I said, we're trying to find the person. And then, could there not be other ways in which we could use human intelligence plus technology to find the person where he could possibly grow from that physical location and try and track that way? And it was eye-opening, right? So months together, we were thinking about this problem in unidimensionally. And now, there's this unexpected view. And it really teaches the whole point about diversity in thinking that you need in the teams, and you create an environment of inclusivity, right? And the more you're able to create things like that, and you get ideas, and good ideas can come from anywhere, and then you embrace that, and that actually produce really good outcomes in that particular case. And that was unexpected. That we were thinking that all the specialization that we had, well, you don't have to solve for the face. So it's just how open you are. Good ideas can come from anywhere, and how inclusive and diverse you keep your teams with. That's an important learning that produce great outcomes and progress, the team's careers and people's career.
Yeah, I would say, Zari, on the mistakes, which I would say I see more often than I like, and it's an interesting one to me, is when I see people changing chasing the promotion. I want to be promoted. I want the higher level job without necessarily going after the knowledge and experience. So oftentimes what happens is, yeah, maybe you can get to that job, but it gets to a point that, oh God, you don't have the right experience. Now it's too late for you to go back in your career to get some experience that you don't have at that point in time. And that's going to be a career derailleur for you to some extent, because you cannot go up anymore from there, just right? Because you don't have the basic experience. So this is actually, I was again fortunate enough to get people very early on in my career to say, don't chase the promotion, go after the experience, go after the knowledge. And I remember for like 12 years in my career, I had no promotion. It was just lateral moves here and there, because it was about the learning, it was about the experience, which then later is helping me tremendously to be effective in my job today, because I have done that. It's what we call the burn the midnight oil, right? It's where you're gonna really learn, sleeves up and get the job done. And that's why, to me, the key advice is focus on the job today, do the best you can, look for opportunities, look for the knowledge, look for the learning. Promotions will come. If you stop that and chase a promotion, you may be promoted one time or two times, but then you're going to get stuck.
Absolutely.
I would not say we have mistakes.
We're all learning opportunities, right?
We all have different paths, and I don't think it's about would I get into a president role one day, or would I, similar to what Rogerio was telling, or Marine, in terms of where is the problem to be solved. I think we need to kind of. I learned a lot when I lived in England about being a moderator. And quite interesting, right? The pace for you to learn could be different from the pace for others to learn.
Absolutely.
And if we are talking about that, you to grow, you also grow with others around you. We go in a collective way of progressing. Very important for your learning is that people around you also grow. And sometimes moving to another country, you are the foreign person. So I would always try to first learn, what is this new culture? What do they learn at school? Why they think like that? Because I believe we are based on our family values and then the school values and the company that you work for as well. So I think there are lessons that you take based on the challenge that drive you to go be more aggressive or less aggressive, be more moderator, that you learn together with others.
Right.
So I think that becomes a kind of a lesson, and it's not a recipe, because every time you get a different mission, every time you get a different country or working with different teams, you are learning again. So I would say be moderate. And understand the pace of others around you.
And that idea of growing together, I think is a really important one. How do you grow together for the best outcome, the best impact for the company that you work for, right? And that's, I think, how we collectively as a team help our company grow, right? We help Eaton grow by working together, by learning together, by pushing each other. Right. And that's something I think as a leader is so important, right? How do we push our teams to think differently, to think bigger, to think about new opportunities or lateral moves, right? New experiences they need to gain. So I think that's a really exciting part of growing in your career, is being able to do those things and learn new things. So we're coming up on the end of our time together. So I want to take one more question. And this is, I think, a really great one because it pulls from all of our experience. So what is the best piece of career or life advice you've ever been given, and how do you think it helped you? So maybe we'll start with Rogerio.
Yeah, I guess we've been talking about this, so I'm just going to go back. It was very early in my career, and I had my first mentor, I would say, at the time. And I remember one day, things you remember in life, and as you remember that day, he sat down with me and he looked at me and said, look, I know you're very competitive. You want to grow in your career and you want to do a lot more. So here's one thing you have to consider always. Take charge of your career. The company will not do this for you. It may do some for you, but you need to be in charge of what it is you want to do in your career. Find out what you like, find out what you want to do, and then go after. Take charge. So that was the most meaningful advice I got.
Okay, Maureen?
Yes, I mean, maybe it's a bit more philosophical. That one stuck with me, right? It's the truth mirror, right? One of my previous mentors said, you always need to have a truth mirror. You're going to be in the truth room, and you're going to ask the mirror, 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 tell me the truth, and where you become your introspective person, and as a leader, as an individual contributor, as a team player, as a family person, right? Where you're doing well, where you're not doing well, what needs to change, what needs to improve. And it helps you ground yourself as an individual, as a person, makes you a better leader, better team player, and all of this, right? And I think the concept of having a truth mirror and looking at the mirror and getting into the truth room really, stuck with me.
Awesome. Josieli?
I go in the same line. I had a situation when we had a very large project that had some impact to the outcome, and even unfortunately impact some customers. And being true to yourself, getting the team together on a kind of crisis was very, very important. And because you have been working together along with this team for a few years, the trust was there. So
Right.
Building trust is very important, because we are going to learn together in the good times, and we're going to learn together in some crisis. So Keeping the trust to yourself. I remember even one of these mentors coming back and saying, yes, we understand that situation. Yes, we really appreciate all teams together to recover from this situation. We trust the team. I think that was really, I would say, a motivation to do even more, and understand that we don't want to create another crisis, absolutely not. But there are moments that being truth, trust, having the trust back from the team, I think that's quite important. And this is about people. So we need to be genuine and together with people. Yeah. In spite, artificial intelligence will help us. Absolutely, yes. But the trust, I think, would be the number one to earn, to receive, and to give.
Yeah.
How about you, Zari? What's your advice?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Right?
we're
So
curious now.
Yeah.
the best piece of advice that I ever got was a kind of middle point in my career, right? I was talking to a leader. I'd been asked to kind of think about a role outside of marketing. And I was really debating, do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? And talking to a leader, she said to me, you have to do what makes you happy. What gives you energy? What is going to make you wake up every day and want to go to work? So don't just take the job because you feel like you have to, right? Take the job because you think you're going to love learning, or you're going to gain something from it, that it feels right to you. And that's something that I tell my team a lot now too, as you're thinking about and being proactive for your career, right? Do the things you love, because it'll make the job more fun, right? You'll continue to learn along the way, and you'll grow in your career because you'll build that expertise. You'll be able to show that passion and energy for the work that you do. I think that has been something that's been a huge benefit to me in my career.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
So I think
we are 4 people happy here.
Right, exactly. 4 happy Eaton employees.
Oh, yeah.
So as our time together wraps up now, I want to thank you guys for a great conversation. And thank you for all of those who joined with us today, for taking your time and submitting your questions. If you're curious about Eaton career opportunities, you can always visit eaton.com/careers. That's the only link you should ever click on in the comments section. Thank you again so much for your time, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.